to the meeting of the Wakefield School Committee of December 13th, 2016. Hereby call this meeting to order and read our mission statement. The mission of the Wakefield Public Schools is to educate and inspire all students to be lifelong learners and who are meaningful contributors to society and meet their academic, social, civic, and physical potential. Next is our public comment period. Is there anyone here who's come to comment on anything on the agenda or any other items? No, seeing none. All right. Okay, we have our Student Advisory Council. Welcome. And
Is this the marching band group first?
oh, I'm sorry. You tricked us. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You have a presentation for us?
Yes, we do.
All right, great. If you'd introduce yourselves, and we're really glad to have you.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I've been drum major for 3 years.
I'm Kara. This is my first year as drum major for the band.
I'm Erin, and this is also my first year as drum major.
All right.
We are so happy to be representing the Wakefield Warrior Marching Band tonight. The band is as large as it's ever been at 24 members. We've had a terrific 2016 season and have had many things to look forward to, including our Disney trip in February. On our trip, we will be able to participate and work with esteemed music professionals, as well as participate in a parade in downtown Main Street, USA. In the winter of 2015, we added both winter percussion and winter color guard extracurriculars. The hard work that those students put in during their winter are one of the reasons that they've done so well during our fall seasons. These groups are also a great way to help our 8th graders get into the band.
So over our season, we've competed in 5 NESBA shows. We came in first place in 3 of those shows and second in 2 of them. We took home 3 Best Color Guard Awards, 3 Best Music Awards, 4 Best Percussion Awards, and most exciting for the 3 of us is our Best Drum Major Award at NESBA Finals, along with a Platinum Medal. We also performed in 2 MICA shows, one of them being our home show, and we had a 5-star sweep in both shows, as well as a perfect score at MICA Finals.
And throughout our busy season, we love giving back to the community. The marching band collected and donated a total of over 7,000 needed items for the Wakefield Interfaith Food Pantry. And we also recently participated in the holiday stroll. We were in the parade and had a performance on the steps of the BB Library. And we're so grateful for the support that we've received from the Wakefield community, the Wakefield school system, and the Wakefield School Committee. We take great pride in representing the school and community wherever we perform around New England. A huge thank you to Mr. Banker, the staff of the marching band, and a very special thank you to Dr. Smith for her overwhelming support in everything that we do.
Thank you. That's really, it's really impressive. I know you guys really are a source of pride in our community, and it really speaks to the quality of the music education that you've had as students coming up. Did each of you or any of you compete in music competitions before you got to the high school level? So the competition element of what you're doing now, is that all new to you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Basically, marching band was one of the first times that we had competing, and I've had experience in coming to high school competing with the jazz band too.
Okay. And how does that change how you learn and how you think about yourselves as musicians?
I think it drives us to definitely push further and gives us more motivation in what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's excellent. I'll let Dr. Smith, our resident music educator.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to the band, to Mr. Banker and his staff, to these excellent student leaders and the whole band. I know what it means to get the Platinum Award at NESBA, the 5 stars, and the gold at MICA is no easy task. You guys know how hard that is. It's incredible to achieve that. So it is really, really impressive. So I'm obviously a huge fan of everything that you do. What drum majors do is pretty incredible too. They conduct the entire show. But that's what they do on stage, but on a daily basis, you guys are teaching, running rehearsals, leading sectionals. They're basically like staff. They're teachers. And I think in answer to your question, I think it probably has helped you become really strong, organized students. They do manage all their schoolwork during the season. I'm sure they're probably all excellent students. And but they're really like true leaders, you know. And I think the leadership that it develops and cultivates is pretty incredible. So congratulations from me.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations and thank you for coming. Other committee members who want to ask a question or?
Well, I think I need one of those super fan T-shirts.
Yeah. Yes, Chris, at every committee meeting, Chris says something, you know, positive and wonderful and encouraging about the work that you guys do, so you know you have a real champion, and the guy in the red shirt.
They see me
over there.
around. I just think back to when my oldest was a freshman in 2005. The program had been struggling, and I think when his freshman year was before Mr. Banker came, and we had maybe 50 in the band, and to see the progress that we've made, I mean, over 10 years is really phenomenal. And then on more than one occasion to come up with these scores at Nesbo of 96 and better, I think it's just tremendous, and the hard work. We hear the every night the doctor going out there, and it's just I think nobody understands unless they really watch how hard you work, and it's such a fantastic accomplishment. I'm curious if it's sometime in the future you end up in the USA circuit. It sounds like that might be a next step sometime. So. Interesting how that goes. But congratulations.
Thank you.
How about a round of applause?
All right, great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. And with the committee's permission, I'm going to take our item number 8 out of order.
I think you still have the student advisory. It looks like these guys are
okay.
here.
Right, got it. All right, I got confused. Okay, now we have our Student Advisory Council. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, I'm TJ again. I'm here to talk about sports, and winter sports are starting up soon. Parents are reminded to get their family IDs in and pay. You can pay online. The hockey rink for the hockey team is now changed to their home arena being Stoneham Arena instead of Kaskabooski and Saugus, so we thought that was a notable change. There's a new boys swim team during this upcoming winter, and they actually just got their first win this past week, and their head coach is Jeff Boyd. And we just wanted to say congrats to Coach Ross of the wrestling team, who recently got his 300th win as a wrestling head coach, and Coach Pappas of the cross-country and track team for becoming Boston Globe's Coach of the Year.
Hi, I'm John. There's only going to be 2 of us today. The other member couldn't make it. But the Social Awareness Club will be selling candy cane grams for the rest of the month of December preceding Christmas. There will be a half day tomorrow. The block order will be GBC, and we will be serving lunch. The Polar Express performance was a hit this past Sunday. The Winter Band concert will be taking place December 20th, next Tuesday, and Winter Vacation starts Friday the 23rd of December. And I think that's all we have today.
Friday the 23rd after school.
Yeah, yeah.
Full day. Full day.
Unless
Just
we
wanted
want
to
to change
clarify
that.
that. Maybe it'll snow for you.
Maybe. That's all we have.
Great.
All right, thanks very
Thank
much.
you,
Thanks for the
guys.
update. Okay, so with the committee's acquiescence, I would like to take item number 8 out of order so we can have the members of our Human Rights Commission provide us with an update. Is that all right with everybody? Okay, great. We'll start with Mr. Chetwin. Well, welcome. We're really excited to have you here tonight. We're really interested in learning about how the Commission's work is developing and what we can do to help.
I just hope I can remember how to use this. Thank you very much. I want to start by thanking all of you guys for what you do, having having been involved in this before, what you do for all of our kids as well as for our educational staff. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Bill.
We're here to basically give you a quick update on where we're at. As you know, you participated in the beginning of the Human Rights Commission. In fact, you will continue to participate too, because you have appointments that you have to make. And I'm gonna, let's see if I can get, oops, did I just push the wrong button? Help. Oh, there we go. Ah, got it. All right. As you know, the Human Rights Commission, the structure of the commission is that we've got 4 appointments by the Board of Selectmen. It was 3 originally, but then we added the clergy member, which gets appointed by the board. It gets officially appointed by the Board of Selectmen. They actually get kind of selected by the clergy association. But then we have 3 appointments that you folks made, and will continue to make as we go along. 1 member appointed by, and by the way, she is here, Officer Amy Rando, who's back here somewhere. She's our police appointment, and the 2 that are here tonight that you appointed, Pina, who is going to talk a little bit about the MLK thing at the very end, and Rich Greif over here behind me. Okay, so we have 1 student member appointed by the superintendent of schools. And we have 3 ex officio members: the town administrator, the police chief, and the superintendent of schools. So that's the makeup of the commission. Now, in terms of what we've been doing in our first year, we've actually been doing quite a bit. We've been out there kind of, the purpose for the first year has really been kind of educate people or make people aware that we exist. Which is why I like being here like this, because this helps. They'll get a chance to see us. But over our first year, we have developed a website, which can be reached either independently or off the town website. We have a Facebook page. We have an email address for people who want to reach out to us via email. And we have a brochure, which I think was a copy of which I believe was sent to you.
Yeah.
If not, you can just call me, so I'll be happy to get you one. We have participated in the Wakefield 101 twice, the 2 occurrences of the Wakefield 101 for new residents. We have participated in a farmer's market 3 times at least. I'm trying to think, it might have been 4, but I know it was 3. Last year in April, we participated in the Wakefield Public Schools International Night. We were participants in the Festival of Italia. And all of that was to get us known, basically, by the general population. And interestingly enough, as an aside, the last meeting we had about a dozen citizens that showed up at the meeting. So apparently they are getting to know us, so that's good. We do have a connection with some of the other HRC groups, no kind of an official connection, but we have had some relationship with the Melrose community. In fact, actually, the Melrose Human Rights Commission helped us get this one going, okay? We've been working with the Reading Human Rights Commission to help them out with some issues that they have. We are a member of the MAHRC, or the Massachusetts Human Rights Commission, and we are also, I don't think we're a member, Bob, right? But we are affiliated with MCAT, which is the
Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination.
Mass Commission Against Discrimination. Now, we have also developed policies and procedures over this first year so that we can kind of get ourselves, moving forward in a consistent way. So what I've got, Bob Vincent is here to my left. He is going to speak a little to the policies and procedures.
All right.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Bob Vincent. I assume all the members have a copy of the policies and procedures that was provided in advance. Just a brief overview. The reason why we felt it was important to develop some written guidance was we thought it was imperative that the Board of Selectmen and the school committee who appointed us to these positions, the citizens in Wakefield, and ourselves had a clear understanding of the functions, powers, and responsibilities of the Human Rights Commission. How we put it together was consultation with the town administrator and the town council, reviewing Wakefield's current boards, commissions, and committees to see what kind of written guidance they may have, and also reviewing area cities and towns with a special emphasis on towns, since we are a town, and especially found what Arlington had pretty enlightening. If you look at what our policies and procedures have, the content of it early on is our membership, quorum, terms of office, residency requirements, things of that nature. When we looked at what other cities and towns did, we also saw that they had an educational, and in some instances they had an enforcement component. With the educational component, you'll see the functions and powers that we have delineated in our policies and procedures are very similar to what we found in the area towns. As far as the outreach programs that we did, as Bill alluded to, we joined the Massachusetts Association of Human Rights Commissions. We work with other organizations that affiliate themselves with the MAHRC as well. We've gone to conferences with MCAD, those kind of things to educate ourselves on what Massachusetts offers in Human Rights Commission endeavors, but also so that we're in a position to aid the citizens of Wakefield in that regard. On the enforcement component, I think it's significant to note in brief that there's two places where you get jurisdiction for enforcing complaints about discrimination. One is Massachusetts General Law 151B, and under that law, the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination is the sole authority to handle allegations of discrimination. Now, some towns, Arlington, and some cities, including Boston and Cambridge, have their own ordinance for a city or a bylaw for a town that's an anti-discrimination bylaw or ordinance. And then the second step, if the town has that, is the enforcement mechanism is giving the Human Rights Commission the authority to look into allegations that the town's bylaw or a city's ordinance was violated. Obviously in Wakefield we have no such bylaw. So therefore the Human Rights Commission has no enforcement power to do anything in terms of somebody complaining about discrimination. What we have put into our functions and powers in consultation with the town administrator and the town council is that a citizen of Wakefield can file a discrimination complaint form with the town administrator. When Mr. Mayo gets that, if he deems it appropriate to come to us for consultation and advice, he will apprise us of that. We will consult with him, only him, give him information back that he can relay if he deems it appropriate to the complainant. So there's no interaction between the Human Rights Commission and the complainant. All that interaction with the complainant would be with the town administrator, and our interaction would also be with the town administrator. And the reason for that, once again, going back to the fact that we have no jurisdiction to look into allegations of discrimination, but we want to make sure that we can give the citizens of Wakefield appropriate information through the town administrator of what resources they can avail themselves to. They can go to MCAD, they can go to the police, things of that nature. So that's really the origin of the policies and procedures that we put in place. We briefed the Board of Selectmen about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we appreciate the opportunity to brief you on that tonight.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, and also we have actually I'm going to go back one. We also have, which Peter's going to talk about in a couple of minutes, we have been planning the first Wakefield MLK event for January 17th, I think, right? 16th. Whenever MLK Day is. And we're beginning work on a 2017 plan now that we've done a lot of the initial education stuff and everything. Where do we go from here, okay? I think before I talk about where we go from here, I think I'm going to give Pina a chance to update us a little bit on the status of the planning for the MLK Day.
Good evening, I'm Pina Macharelli. As Bill just let you know, on January 16th at 10 o'clock at the Galvin Middle School, we are planning the first Wakefield Dr. Martin Luther King celebration, which we're very excited about. This will be the first town MLK Day. And the event is planned to happen 10 to 11 o'clock, starting in Veterans Auditorium, and then where we will be having clergy speaking. There will be music by our Wakefield High School music program, and there will also be music by some of the town's chorus, church chorus. We're going to have artwork, poetry readings by some of our school members and some of our townspeople. This will be a townwide event. We're going to also be displaying student artwork in the lobby of the Galvin. We will also be, a special part of our program that we are having that day is we're going to be honoring Wakefield volunteers with the first annual Wakefield MLK Awards. And we have 3 awards in this area, 1 to a child, 1 to an adult, and 1 to a community organization. You may have seen this in the media or in some of the school mailings where we'll be recognizing, Rich can probably speak more to about this, Rich, recognizing someone who's made a change and a difference in our community. And there'll be light refreshments served afterwards in the cafeteria. So we hope to see you all there.
Thank you,
You
Peanut.
want to say something? All right. So that's our first year in what we were moving. But in terms of what's next, which in other words, where we're going from here, okay? We're going to continue with the education process because it's not just an education process making people aware that we exist. It's an education process making people aware that human rights exist, that people have rights. And it's not that people don't think people have rights, but it's not like in the front of their brain, so to speak. They don't think about it oftentimes. And so we'll continue to do that. We're going to continue to be present at various community events and everything, because again, it's a presence thing. Then there's the Martin Luther King thing, where we have thrown out the possibility of coming up with a 9/11 event in 1917 too. 1917. 2017.
You're the only one alive.
I'm only 100 years behind. And we're going to be working and developing a strategic plan for the thing, for the commission.
Okay.
By the way, before I forget, I don't want to forget this guy over here in the corner with the camera. That's Dave Watts. He's also one of our commissioners. He loves to take pictures. We're working on, the idea, as Bob pointed out, is that we will work with the town administrator, okay, in terms of any civil rights issues that come up. We will do, if he requires, as Bob said, if he requires or asks for our assistance or whatever, we will be there to do that, okay? And we have created the form for filing a complaint, and you don't come to us to get it, you go to the town hall. I mean, the town administrator has it. And we will continue to work, as we have been, with various organizations. The whole purpose here is really to make sure that people really come to understand and appreciate everybody's human rights, And for me personally, I've always had this philosophy that says the only way we can make this whole thing work is by all working together. And I think that's one of the missions of this group, is to get people to really come to realize that you have rights, I have rights, we all have the same rights, and we should respect each other and work together to get things done. So, and that's it. That's our presentation, okay? I hope we got it done fast enough for you.
You did, and it's great. Really impressive. I know, as you know, Bill, I was involved at the very beginning, and if someone was going to ask me what my hope was for the first year, you just articulated it. So it's really great. So let me open it up and see if my colleagues want to ask some questions.
The team that we had that pulled it all together. Greg was a member of that team.
Go ahead, Chris.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned that we currently don't have any bylaw that empowers the HFC to act. Is it your intent to work towards that?
That would be something that would be up to the town to decide whether they wanted to have a bylaw. We haven't had any discussions to originate a document like that, no.
Okay.
We would certainly be willing, if they decide to do that, we'd certainly be willing to work with them in the process of that.
I would just think if it was needed or wanted, it would come from you more than vice versa. That the town wouldn't tell you that you need that authority, you would come to the town and say, we need this authority.
Well, in theory, Steve could come to us as a town administrator and say, we want you to put one together and bring it to us and see what. But we wouldn't do it as an independent organization to say, in other words, we're not gonna develop one and say, oh, by the way, we got this bylaw we want you to pass. At least that's not our plan right now.
Okay.
Rob?
Thanks. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just wondering if you can talk, briefly about the role that the student representative plays, and kind of how that may work with liaising with the school department. If you could just talk a little about that.
Well, I can try, but the student representative is in fact a voting member. Okay. I know the one that we had last year and the one this year, I also believe is involved in some of the organizations within the high school that concern themselves with these types of issues. So their role would really be as a regular commissioner. I mean, the only difference is that their term is only for 1 year because I guess right now it looks like we appoint a senior and they serve for the year, and of course then they go off to college. So, but their role, they have a full role as a commissioner.
I will add that some of us on the commission, the two of us sitting right here, are not the best with computers and things of that nature.
Good point.
And last year, the student representative was very instrumental in helping us develop a Facebook page and things of that nature that I don't even have Facebook, but was instrumental in developing those kind of things. The computer skills came in hand.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you, Bob. I had forgotten about that. She did a great deal of work.
Great. That's wonderful. Ken?
Just maybe one comment. I think such a great example of your working with other organizations and supporting was just last week we had the Safe and Welcoming Schools community presentation, and there was a real focus on supporting transgender students in schools, and 4 members of the Human Rights Commission came, and as we did those introductions, to hear for the people that were present, to hear that we have a Human Rights Commission, and here they are supporting this presentation, and how can we contribute to safe and welcoming schools. I mentioned to Amy how powerful it was to have a police officer there supporting the presentation. I think it really meant a lot. It meant a lot to the schools, and certainly meant a lot to the students and parents and families.
That was quite a presentation.
It was quite a presentation.
It was one of those times too where, not just as a parent and a citizen, but just as you can see so many opportunities for us to work together. There's just so many times when the light bulb went off. It's like, oh, we can do this, and just so many opportunities just to work together. It was great to be a part of.
Yeah, and I see the commission also as really a potentially effective vehicle for building out, civic engagement in the community in places where, maybe we haven't seen it yet. I mean, we have new immigrant communities, growing. We see in our student body a growing number of English language learners every year. So, new immigrant families are coming in as the commission itself and its work and its celebration of cultural diversity, I think plays a really, really important role in engaging new people in the civic life of the community. So I see that as really a key function for your work going forward. And another event that what we do as a school system, and this may be another connection, is we have our international night too,
Right.
which is again it's a real celebration of the diverse sort of cultural heritage that we have in this community, and that may be another event that we can work on together.
They had a table last year.
Oh, right.
The last
did?
year, yeah, last year we had a table.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
excellent. Any other questions?
I'm sorry that I missed it. I was at work. I'm coming from work, so I'm sorry that I'm late, but I just want to thank you too. I think it's really important, and it's like a great group. I know most of you who are on the commission. I'm so happy that you're all on there. So thank you for all of your work. I think it is making a difference.
And thank you all for coming tonight and spending time with us, okay? And keep us posted on what we can do to continue to support your work.
See you on
All right.
January 16th.
Yes, you will. We will. Okay, let's go to budget items. Now we've got business reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your packet, you do have the business reports. They're actually dated through December 8th. I actually held them open for an extra week, just because we were running that last payroll to get everybody moved into the grants, all the salaries encumbered and everything. So I'm gonna just point out some highlights. Right now in salaries, again, it's very early to tell, especially since this is our first time this year encumbering after the negotiations all wound down and we get everything loaded into the system, all the retroactive payments made and everything. Right now, we're on the $12,000 plus side in salaries. Really, it doesn't say a lot right now. We need to see trends, so every month we'll certainly present that, and we'll be able to see the trends. We'll watch it on a bi-weekly basis when we do payroll, but we'll report monthly. So just to give you an idea, right now, we're in the black on the salaries. A couple of minor areas of concern are the substitutes, but that could be due to how I encumbered them. So again, we'll watch the trend. If it seems to be growing, I'm gonna have to take a deeper look into the encumbrance. Or possibly as to why we have a growing need for substitutes within the district. Down at line 16, so under contracted services, everything's in line. You'll notice that the special education tuitions are now in line. We back some money out of that and put it into circuit breaker, as you'll see on the last page. So contracted services all look very well, good right now. And down under supplies and materials, the first line, instructional supplies, you'll see we're overspent by $20,000. The majority of that is that we've made all of our technology purchases for the year, yet we haven't executed the lease to back out about $160,000 of that. So that will be coming within the next 2 months probably. I do have to do an IFB, I believe, and that's a process, posting and everything. So we'll adjust that certainly before the winter's over. The other line in there that's showing negative is vehicle fuel. We've charged off some vehicle fuel. We opened up a purchase order at the beginning of the year for the town's fuel depot at the DPW lot, and unfortunately, when we've been paying the bills to the town or doing the transfers to the town, we haven't been reducing the purchase order. So it was one of the things I caught after we'd run all the reports, and it didn't seem major at the time that we needed to reduce that. I said we'd make the adjustment for the next month. As we go on to the second page of the report, this is the breakdown by school. And as Mr. Callahan had pointed out, and I appreciate in advance, had asked me some questions, you'll see that the Galvin Middle School and the Wakefield Memorial High School seem to be drastically overspent on their budget lines, whereas the elementary schools not so much. They actually have surpluses over there. And as I explained to Mr. Callahan and I'll explain to the committee, the majority of that is because of the IDEA grant. That's a special education grant that we use to pay 32 or 34 paraprofessionals out of, our ISPs. What I did when I built the budget, again, we're in negotiations, there was a lot of things going on, but we just allocated like $75,000 to the smaller schools, $100,000 to the larger elementary schools, maybe $200,000 or $300,000 to the high school and the middle school for that offset. When we actually allocated the payroll, we decided to take people who did not have longevity, had not been here more than 9 years in the instructional support role. In the past, what we would do is we would pay their salary out of the grant, and we pay their longevity payment out of local budget. So one person was getting paid out of 2 areas. So we said we can really streamline this if we take the people who have been here for a long period of time, pay them all out of local budget, and then the people who haven't been here so long, pay them out of the grant. So as a result, it seems that our high school paras, ISPs, and our middle school ISPs have a lot more longevity than some of our elementary schools. So that was the explanation behind that. I hope does that kind of answer that as to why those are out of whack. Post Academy is the other one that's showing a negative balance, but the reality is we only load half of their budget because Reading actually covers the other half. So we take and expend everything from Wakefield, but then we bill back to Reading. So that $121,000 budget line is truly $243,000. So if you look at it that way, we actually have a surplus of funds there. So that's, and I've encumbered all of their salaries for all the employees, even though Reading will be reimbursing us a portion of that. Any questions on the locations?
Does that come in like in January, or does it come at the end of the year?
We do it in thirds. We typically invoice, I believe it's the end of November, and I've got the numbers. I'm just working with Mr. Mayo, the town administrator. He actually sends the bill because it's a municipal agreement. I was working with him on some of the employee benefit costs, and there's some other costs. There's employee benefits. There's something else in there. I don't know if it's unemployment. I don't believe it is, but there's something else in there that we charge them for each employee that we have hired. So there's a couple little pieces. So I was just working with Mr. Mayo on that, and then I got into the report, so I need to get back to him on that. So hopefully by next month we'll have an invoice out to, or sometime this month we'll have an invoice out to Reading. I'm not sure that we'll have the money back in before the reports are done for next month. Going on to page 4, which is the grants. We're still waiting on 3 grants, and they seem to be the same 3 grants that we've been waiting on. One is a DESI grant. It's a program improvement, special education program improvement. It has been applied for. We just haven't received the approval yet. And also the SPED Early Childhood Grant, 262 grant. That's done by the Department of Early Childhood. It's not done by DESI. So it's been applied for. We did hear back from them this week that some clarifying questions they wanted answered, and I'm not sure where we are in that process. Mrs. O'Neill will handle that. So we're still waiting for the award on that. And then there's also a very small grant, another early childhood grant that we get, $2,500 grant. Every little bit helps, but we have not been awarded that grant yet either. Anything on grants? Great. And then we're going to move over to the revolving accounts. I'll highlight just a few here. School lunch, Mrs. Morello is in the audience this evening. She's going to be presenting later, so I'll leave her thunder for then. What I report here is truly Munis. Kristen keeps a separate spreadsheet of actual expenses and encumbrances and whatnot, profit and loss over last year. So she'll be explaining more of that. I am not concerned with what the Munis is showing right now. Munis is showing a $105,000 deficit. That takes into consideration money we owe Reading for Ms. Morello's services, things like that, encumbrances for Ms. Morello's services. You're flashing over there. The next line is cable TV production. That line is also showing a negative. That is money that we get from Verizon, Comcast, and I believe RCN. We get a percentage, as does WCAT, our wonderful host. And those come in throughout the year. It's usually about 2 or 3 payments throughout the year. So we've encumbered the salaries for the year. We anticipate that we'll end the year, in excess of $150,000, as we always do. But as of right now, it's showing a negative because we have encumbered salaries. And then down on preschool tuition, there's also a negative there. We have only collected September, October, and November payments, which are 3 out of 10. We've actually probably collected the 4th, but it just hasn't hit the bank yet, or hasn't hit my reports. So we're about 30% reported right now with $100,000 in. So if that's the case, we should be bringing in about another $200,000, which will more than cover our deficit right now. Okay. And circuit breaker is a little different from last month, but we did move money out of the local budget and into circuit breaker, as I explained on the first page. So we're right now looking okay in circuit breaker. We probably have a surplus of about $30,000 in circuit breaker, which is certainly not what we're hoping for. We're hoping to start building that account to be a little bit of a surplus for a rainy day. Unfortunately, the rainy day is here, so we haven't been able to build that up substantially. Any questions?
And your point about the rainy day being here is just...
No, there's no really concern. It's just
it's just the enrollment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We had a couple of kids go out that we didn't budget for. We last year during the budget process, we knew there were some kids who had the potential of going out, but we didn't feel it was ideal to budget for them because there were still potentials of going out of district. So we figured we'd address it when they went out. We did put a little bit money into the budget, but not enough for every child. Lynn had a list of all the kids that she had potentially that could go out of district, and we did not include all of them in the budget. We did include some, but certainly not to the extent that Lynn wanted us to. So.
Chris, go ahead.
Would it be complicated on this monthly statement report to get me like a year-to-date comparison?
Year over year, 1 year to next year?
Yeah, like at this point in time, last year we had spent this much, and this how much we spent this year. Is that something that's easily accessible for you?
I'm sure it's accessible.
I don't want hours and hours of work going
No,
into it.
I wouldn't say it'd be hours.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we have all the reports from last year. It's probably actually in the spreadsheet. I just hide columns every month.
Yeah,
And just move them out.
just
So
see that a
I
year-to-date
could possibly
comparison.
unhide some columns and actually make it very simple.
Yeah.
But I'd have to look into that.
If it's convenient to do, I'd like to see that.
I'd be happy to do it.
On any particular line item, or just the circuit breaker, especially, Chris? Is that what you're interested in?
No, on the overall, the the regular 23-line budget.
Oh,
Oh, on the front
okay,
page.
the front
Yeah.
page, good,
Okay.
all right.
It's more like, year-to-date, how are we doing on electricity? How are we doing on fuel?
Substitutes,
How are we doing
yeah.
on substitutes? And, you know, it might make some of these numbers less concerning because we can see where we were in the same place last year.
Right.
Or it might highlight some areas that don't feel like we're in trouble yet, but we're headed there.
I mean, certainly last year we had a very warm winter,
Yeah.
so we anticipate that our fuel costs should go up this year. But
Absolutely.
unless we have
Friday's
another.
forecast, absolutely.
What's that?
With this coming Friday's forecast,
Yes,
absolutely.
I heard, yeah. So, yeah, I will look into that. I think it's something that's doable. Maybe, you know, I don't know if you want to see it monthly or quarterly or something, or through the budget subcommittee, whatever you want to.
Something like that. I just know, like, those are numbers that I like to look at for myself, and I think it would be interesting to see how they are, the year-to-date comparison.
Sure, it's a great recommendation, thank you.
Okay, you all set, Mike?
I have, if you wanna follow the agenda, I just have something at the end.
Oh, right, okay, well, let's go to payroll warrants.
Move that the school committee approve payroll warrants number 18, 20, and 21 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, question? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, unanimous. And gifts.
Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the donation of $1,000 from the Friends of the WHS Boys Hockey Booster Club. The funds are for the assistant varsity hockey coach for helping during the 2016 to 2017 season.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
There was a notation that was like the first of, it implied that there was another
So
installment.
that they could be,
coming.
yeah, I read it the same way, Mr. Callen, and I believe that there will be a second installment in the future.
Okay.
All right, very grateful to the Hockey Booster Club. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, thanks. Okay, so, Mike, please go ahead. You had one additional piece of
Thank you.
information you wanted to share.
I'll be very brief. Last week, the state announced 9C cuts. Those are typical cuts that happen when the state's not getting the revenue that they're anticipating. The 9C cuts last week announced were $28 million, just over $28 million in 9C cuts for the state. It's a 15-page list of cuts. I called through it the best that I could, and what I identified that would affect Wakefield, there's a $25,000 grant for the implementation of Narcan in the town that's been cut. And, you know, Dr. Smith said that the schools have been working with the police department and our school nurses to identify areas that we can use that. So we're not sure how that's going to affect us, but it could potentially affect us.
Okay.
And there was another $25,000 earmark. I shouldn't call it grant, they're earmarks. There was another $25,000 earmark for public safety improvements. And I'm guessing that's on the police and fire side, but again, it affects Wakefield. So those are the two cuts that affected Wakefield that I could find. There may be more. Typically, when we see 9C cuts later in the year, they seem to affect METCO, some of our coordinated family engagement program, some of the other local grants, not the federal grants, but the state grants that we take advantage of. Fortunately, no cuts to METCO at this point, no cuts to the CPC grant, so we're okay right now. But again, this is just the earmarks I think they took care of right now. We may be seeing some grant cuts in the future, but as of right now, we came through pretty unscathed on the 9C cuts from Wakefield's standpoint.
All right. Any questions of Mike before we move on? Okay. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the November 22nd, 2016 meeting and accept the minutes of the November 18th, 2016 school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any questions, corrections, edits on these? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2016, March 8th, 2016, June 14th, 2016, September 12th, 2016, and September 27th, 2016 executive session minutes, meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Want to give a special thanks to Judy for pulling all those together. As you know, once the purpose for the executive session has been completed, we're obligated to release the minutes, so I wanted to make sure we did that. So, any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Chris.
a procedure
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
My understanding of the way we should be doing this is we should be approving these minutes at the time of the meeting and then releasing them now, but they've already been approved 6 months ago. would be the procedure we should be following.
Okay, I'm sorry, say that again.
The way it's always, and maybe we did it wrong in the past, but my understanding of the way it should be done is that if we have a meeting on January 12th,
Yeah.
our next school committee meeting, we should approve those minutes, but they're not released until the purpose of that executive
Right,
session
right,
is
right,
done.
okay.
But we've
Yeah,
already
so
done
we
the approval while it's
yeah.
all fresh in our mind.
Right, right, yeah, okay, good point, yeah. Okay, any other thoughts, questions about the minutes, executive session minutes, okay. All those in favor? Opposed, it's unanimous, thank you. Okay, chairman's comments. So, I sent a note to everybody about the Chapter 70 Foundation, Chapter 70 / Foundation Budget Review Commission forum that was held by the Mass Association of the School Committees and the Suburban Coalition, and sent around some data on some comparative data that Mike and Kim had provided, comparing Wakefield's Chapter 70 aid to demographically similar communities, and raises a lot of questions and gives us some food for thought as we think about the advocacy positions that we want to take going into the planning of the FY18 budget, and what we can do to ensure that if the legislature decides to implement some of the foundation budget review recommendations that the legislative delegation talked to us about earlier this year, what are those steps that we can take to ensure that Wakefield, it gets the maximum benefit from those changes. So any thoughts, suggestions, ideas that came out of that you guys want to talk about? Ann, did you want?
No, I don't know, not right now. I'll
Okay.
see what every.
Well, one thought I had, Tom's not here tonight, but I was thinking that perhaps the budget subcommittee could kind of begin to draft some suggested talking points that then we could sort of discuss at the committee level, and perhaps that gets translated into a letter, or a recommended letter that we can send to our legislative delegation. So that's one approach that we could take, maybe something to think about.
I just feel so burnt by the whole thing.
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
feel like we've been trying so hard, and
Yeah.
that politically, it's a very difficult thing for legislators
Yeah.
to help these few communities
Yeah.
that would hurt their constituents in other communities unless there's some way. I know that Catherine Clark, when she was in the Senate, she was trying to tie the revenue from the casinos to helping those, I think it's like 15 or so communities,
Right.
come up to same level, but then that didn't even go.
Right.
That didn't even pass, but.
Yeah, and the revenue, of course, the revenue question is related, because they're talking, they're among other things, they're talking about potentially new revenue in this budget session, and then you have the debate over the fair share amendment and whether there'll be significant new revenue going toward Chapter 70. And, so that's, further complicates things, but that may be another opportunity for us.
Can I just say one more thing? Great. Can I just say
Oh,
one
I'm
more
sorry,
thing?
go ahead.
I do just want to say is that I think that our supporting the construction of a new Galvin, and I think our support of a new high school, if that passes, I think that that's going to be probably our biggest bang for our buck in terms of increasing our Chapter 70 money. Because a lot of it is based on enrollment, changes
course.
in enrollment
Yeah,
and
yeah,
growth.
yeah.
Growth is a huge projector on that. And if our student population, I think part of our problem is that our student population stayed flat, but when you build new schools, what happens? Everybody wants to go to the community with the new schools, and we're in a pretty good situation now. So I just hope that the community rallies behind a new high school, because I think that's the biggest way for us to get our increase in Chapter 70. And it's not a political, it's not a legislator having to say, take money away from a constituent group.
Right.
And I do think the formula favors communities with new schools just because of the enrollment.
In growth and
Yeah.
student population.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Sure.
I just
RJ,
want to
go
thank you
ahead,
for putting that together and looking into it further. I definitely would like to take more time on this issue because I just think it's very unfair. Yeah, I'd say pressure on the legislators even more, and I just don't understand why that is, but if we keep working on it, I think we'll get some progress, hopefully.
Yeah, I think and I think to Ann's point, it's exhausting. Advocating it is for it is exhausting, but even understanding it is kind of exhausting.
Pretending to understand.
Yeah, we look at those comparative numbers with those like demographically alike communities, and we're all sort of baffled. Even the educational experts to my left here. So I think that's among the first steps.
Sufficiently baffled, yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move to superintendent's remarks.
Okay, I'd like to start by inviting Kristen Morello, our food services director.
Nice try, Doug.
I think Doug wants to go. So I brought you guys a treat.
Oh my goodness.
And part of it is because we're going to be serving gingerbread cookies as part of lunch to the students on the 21st. But they won't be decorated. I decorated them at home for you guys to take a napkin, but I made them cute. Whatever's left, you guys can have too.
You may not make it back there.
But the ones that we're giving the kids will be individually wrapped, and they meet all the nutritional guidelines and all that fun stuff. So just a little bit.
The gumdrops don't meet those guidelines?
Well, calories are calories, so and they don't have nuts. So no, I think it's more that the size is appropriate. That if we wanted to sell them to students who choose not to buy a lunch, we can be more inclusive. So try to do that whenever we can. But just to add a little fun on the menu. But,
very good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with the pastry bag, so I figured I'd make them cute. Chairman, thank you very much for inviting me tonight, Dr. Smith, Mike, and the rest of the committee. It's always great to have the opportunity to present to all of you and let us know what we're doing and give you a chance to ask questions so that we can speak as one voice to the community. Mike and I met with Lisa Brown, who works with me as well, and we came up with a list of goals and objectives for this year, as well as the highlights from last year, to try to keep this list ongoing as the year progresses. And we put some financials together for you just to give you a little snapshot of how we closed the end of last year and where we were year to date, preparing for this meeting. And I just thought it was fun at the bottom. I did a little 3-year meal comparison because our focus is meals. How many meals we sell is how we kind of benchmarking of where we believe we are statistically, as well as our focus is to sell reimbursable meals to students because that's the most nutritious option for us. So that's where we are. So one thing I did want to note, because I'm always looking at the statistics, is that one thing I think is notable and kind of exceptional. I did run kind of the quick and dirty November numbers. We're not closed with November completely, but as of November year to date, we're up 3.4% in reimbursable meals sold, which is notable because when you go through a price increase like you all approved last year, you usually see a bit of a dip. So it's really actually even better than 3.4% because anything that wasn't flat is a huge achievement. So I think that that's a credit to the staff that we have at the schools and the meals that they're putting out and all of the variety they're trying to offer the students with a smile and be something special for them every day. So other than that, I mean, I know that we only are supposed to have a couple of minutes to kind of give you the update, so we tried to put everything into place. The other notable thing that I'm excited about for this year is that at Wakefield Memorial High School, we've taken the opportunity to utilize the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Smarter Lunchrooms initiative, which in your notes, it does say that it's use easy, no-cost, and low-cost changes to encourage students to take, select, and eat and enjoy healthier foods in school without eliminating choice. But the great part about this is that we've taken advantage of the fact that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is using Framingham State College's John Stalker Institute to send out trainers to select communities for free. So We already had a meeting in October, which I did not participate in. I delegated that to Lisa, who's in charge of lots of things in the district with me, but she jumped in with Nancy DiTullio, the manager at the high school, and all of the high school staff, and they met with the outside trainer, and they did a Smarter Lunchroom self-assessment, which we get a scorecard basically, and then they come up with 10 possible goals that they'll work towards over the next year and then some. So we're working on some of those, and we're hoping that what it will do is, in the long run, it might help us to sell more lunches, but the goal is to sell healthier lunches. So I'm excited about the fact that not only we were selected to use this, but that the Wakefield Memorial High School staff was so engaged in participating. So anyway, so I figure if you guys have any questions or anything that you wanted to know about our department, I figured I'd leave it open.
Go ahead. Kim,
I noticed that you're collaborating with the Post Academy with student training. Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's actually very exciting. In my past lives, where I actually met my husband, he's here with me tonight. I used to work with the lab program in Lexington, and we had a lot of the students trying to learn with their one-on-one trainers some very simple tasks that they might not be able to learn elsewhere, but they could potentially give them possibilities for employment, paid employment. And over the years, we were able to work with that program and help them to earn money. And the opportunity came available. We were working with Donna Conlon and then some different people who work within the post program. And there were some specific students we thought could really learn from working in the kitchen. And so we started a program on Mondays and Wednesdays. We have some of the one-on-ones come down with the students, and they work right on the line with us. They're serving students, they're helping us make cookies. And I really have to give credit to Nancy DiTullio, because she had worked in that program before she took a complete 40-hour-a-week job with us, and she knew a lot of the students. She was working with them at the Galvin at the Woodville over the years, and she knew their skill set. So she's really taken an active role in making sure that while they're in the kitchen, they're engaged, that she understands what they can do and how to do it, and we're educating their teachers as well about food safety and things of that nature. And we were going to actually hire one of them this month, but she couldn't work out the transportation. So I'm trying to rob her for Reading, because she's from Reading, and it was the driving, getting a ride every day to Wakefield. It was only a 2-hour shift. But it's really been great, and it's been great for all of us too, because it's fun to work with them, and they're just so happy. This one boy, Michael, he comes in and I say, "Hey, Michael, how you doing?" He says, "I am awesome." And I'll tell you, we're having some staffing issues right now, as you can see under my challenges. And he just, he just makes you just smile. He's a lot of fun, and he just likes to run in the dishwasher. So
Nice.
they've been a lot of help.
Great.
So.
All right. Other questions? Chris?
On your challenges,
Yes.
I'm trying to understand the wording of this. It says limiting scheduling hours of over 6 and under 4. Is that backwards?
No, so right now, because of, I believe, the way the insurance works through the town, we have to hire people for less than 4 hours or more than 6 hours. We can't hire in between 4 and 6 hour gaps.
Per day, we have a 20-hour, we can't hire between 20 and 30 hours a week. Because the GIC requires you to be in the retirement program. The retirement program will only recognize you if you work more than 30 hours. Affordable Care Act says if you work under 20 hours, we don't have to offer you insurance. So the town has this gap between 20 and 30 hours where if they work more than 20, we have to give them insurance. But if they don't work 30, they can't get the GIC.
So it just creates a bit of a challenge for us, because where most of our schools only serve lunch, and like at the Walton and things like that, we have 2.5 hour shifts because we have such small enrollments there, and we're only serving lunch. And in a couple of the cases, we don't even have like a true cafeteria kitchen setup. We're satelliting the food, and it really has created a challenge staffing wise. I mean, I worked at 2 schools today, and we had to shut down 2 lines, snack bar lines, but we're really struggling to find people who want to work those lesser hour shifts, and it just it's become a challenge. And I know we have similar challenges in other departments that have shifts that are just not full-time shifts. So we're trying to continue to create out-of-the-box ways to find people who might want to work to serve the kids.
And then, are the ovens, those were in the capital requests already, are they not?
They are. I think, like I was telling Mike, I think I might need to buy some a little earlier too. They're all aging at the same rate, and they're all breaking down. You've used them, you know.
Used them, I totally
And
get it.
they don't cook evenly. So one of the challenges we're having at the high school is that where we only have 2 lunch waves, it's always hard to feed the kids, and we have, by my statistics, low participation for the high school, but this is my 4th year, and it's not for lack of good food or fresh food or smiles on the faces. I mean, that staff know every student's name. There's just challenges there. And so when, you know, your cookies, you have to spin the pan 3 times to get a 10-minute cookie to come out right. You need a new oven.
It was interesting, the music boosters used the ovens to bake their cookies for the Polar Express and planned on, I forget, a burn rate of like 20 or 30% that they expected the cookies would burn in the process of baking them. And so they ended up with a few extra cookies because they did better than they thought they would. But they have to factor in how many were going to burn trying to cook.
Wow. And yeah.
And then lastly, on these revenue increases.
Yes.
You mentioned like a lunch count, because that would help me better, because like how much of the increase is due to the increase in the price versus increase in participation?
So I can't really answer that question off the top of my head, but I'll say it's a combination of both, because we clearly would have expected higher revenues given the fact that the price went up. So if the reimbursable number of meals stayed flat, we would have made more. We would have had more revenue.
Right.
But we would have had less expenses because we wouldn't have had more meals to provide for. But we are up, like I said, 3.7%. So I think it's a combination of both. I don't know off the top of my head what the variance is between the price differential at both levels, because I would have to know like how many meals at each building and how many were free, reduced, paid. I don't have that in front of me.
Because these percentage changes are in revenue, not in percentage of participation, right?
Correct.
So, okay.
Yep. And on the bottom is the meal increases, but that doesn't include this year. So, but
the bottom is the meal.
Yeah, and that's just the past 3 years, because we had such a big discussion when I started about
right.
where we wanted to go, and we were just really proud about where we went so quickly. We didn't think we would have the achievements that we had in year 1. So to look at even what they've done in breakfast was impressive, because breakfast is a really hard meal to increase.
29%.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that number. That's really impressive. Yeah.
And not to diminish what we've done, but you know, we had really low counts, so
right.
making some small adjustments reach good rewards. So, but like my thing with breakfast, I always say I get on my cereal box, try to get kids to eat breakfast, because they wake up so late and they don't eat, and they're not ready to learn. Yeah. And so we've tried to encourage that. We even tried to get a breakfast program at one of the elementary schools, which we'll continue to try there. It just hasn't worked out yet. But
do yogurts too.
Yogurt. Yeah, we sell yogurt.
Yogurt for breakfast.
Yeah, we sell smoothies and yogurt at breakfast. Yeah. We make smaller ones.
Yeah.
But so anyway, the lunches that you asked about, I can say that with the exception of the Walton and the Greenwood, everybody is up in lunch counts through November. So I think that's impressive in a year with price increases.
Yeah, sure is. Any other questions?
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
This is the last year of our intermunicipal agreement with Reading, so Dr. Smith and I and Kristen are working to make sure that we get another 3 years out of Kristen.
All right.
So.
Oh. I already mentioned it to Dr. Doherty in Reading, and he said he was in. So
we have the full support of the school committee in that effort. So, RJ, you had a question?
I just want to point out one thing I always noticed in school was how caring the cafeteria people were. So I mean, they treat these kids like their own sons and daughters, so just keep up the good work.
I have to agree with you. I'll say we always make jokes about nobody's in school nutrition for the money, because they really are there because they love kids and they love feeding kids. So, you know, all these other things that we talk about, you know, I want to just try to make their lives a little easier and get that meal out and cooked without like 30% waste on a cookie. I thank you all for your support. So if you have any questions anytime, feel free to send them to Mike or Dr. Smith, and I'll help you out.
All right, thank you,
Great job,
Kristen.
Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us up to
You guys get a
date.
cookie?
Next on the agenda is Mr. Lyons and his team, Wendy Phillips
The
and
science
Dr.
crew.
Thomas, the science crew.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Good evening. We could do introductions. This is Wendy Phillips. Wendy is the math curriculum coordinator, and this is Dr. Jennifer Thomas, our science curriculum coordinator.
Was making her debut at this Wakefield School Committee. Yeah.
I know, it's big. You know, I think one of the things that have learned and am reminded all the time that hiring is, you know, such an important thing for us. It helps us kind of accelerate our growth and really refine what we're doing. And, you know, being able to hire Jennifer this past spring was a big win for us. And so it's really great to have her. You know, she was in a chemistry class today, co-teaching with a high school teacher. And she also works very closely with Wendy. And I think it has changed kind of the dynamic of the curriculum coordinator position. Their relationship is really strong. I know that they kind of push one another. They certainly push me to kind of be better all the time. And they are really an integral part of the curriculum team. And so I can't thank them enough for their work. And so that's who they are. The goal tonight is to talk a little bit about the instructional strategy and how that relates to the curriculum work that we're doing. We're going to talk about the curriculum review cycle that we're in currently. And we'll talk about STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. That's the acronym STEAM in Wakefield and kind of where we're at. And would also like to give you just an update on the curriculum leadership group and kind of next steps and the team that we have, the new science curriculum leadership team that we have this year. And so, you know, I took a screenshot of the center section of our instructional strategy. And there are 3 sections of the instructional strategy. And in the middle section, rigorous curriculum, the initiatives 5 and 6 review and research PK through 12 science, technology, and engineering standards. And so the new standards have been published by the Department of Ed and accepted by the state. And so we have a 2-year implementation period. And in some of our schools, we're a little bit ahead of that curve in regard to implementation. But in regard to our curriculum review cycle, this is very closely connected. And I included the instructional strategy here because it guides all of our work in curriculum and instruction and the work we're doing in schools and also at the district level. And so this is just a reminder. I know we've talked about the curriculum review cycle and for the last couple of years. And so this year is science is on the table, science, technology, and engineering. And just an overview of the review cycle. Phase 1 of the curriculum review cycle is to research and review curriculum, to figure out what programs are potentially a good fit for us and to really assess what we also have in place. Phase 2 is to appropriate materials and to pilot programs. And phase 3 and 4 is professional development and implementation. Phase 5 is the assessment and evaluation of improvement of the curriculums that we're choosing. And so this is just a snapshot. I wanted to include some pictures of a pilot that we're doing. This is a grade 5 lab in Cindy Fitzpatrick's class.
Yes.
In Cindy Fitzpatrick's class. And, you know, we're particularly pleased that we're doing lab work in grade 5 now, which is a nice shift for us. And so one of the things that we're talking about in regard to our work in curriculum is kind of a differentiated approach. And the reason we say a differentiated approach is because pre-K through 4 are on a slightly different curve than the middle school and also the high school are. And so with all of the new curriculums that have come into pre-K through 4, they are a little bit behind in regard to the implementation of the new standards. And so we have a 2-year window, so I don't know if behind is the right word choice, but in regard to us doing a pilot, it's really most really appropriate to do that at the middle school next year and maybe even into the year after. We're going to assess where we're at next year. And the reason we say that, and I think in our overall planning and assessing where we are and looking forward, we think it's going to work out just right, because with the monies that we have available to purchase curriculum, it's a lot of money, but it isn't enough to do a complete pre-K through 12 buy that also includes professional development. So this kind of differentiation we would have to do anyway, just based on the budget that we have. And so this is, I think, is going to work out well for us. So the plan is, as we're moving forward with pre-K through 4, we're going to be working through this year and into next year to look at maybe some materials and curriculums that we can pilot. We're also going to be looking at report cards and updating the standards-based report cards in regard to the new science standards. We're going to be looking at the professional development and where that can fit into our professional development calendar. And so we're also looking at the schedules in regard to the elementary schedules. Elementary schedules are so tight right now that it's really hard to fit everything in. And so one of the ways that they're doing that in pre-K and kindergarten is through the play-based learning initiative, which I know you've heard about in the past. But we're still partnering with Lesley University, and we have professional development happening with our pre-K and K teachers. We just had a meeting a week ago, and the pre-K, to have all of the pre-K and K teachers together in one place at one time, it is, they feel so valued, and it's just such a valuable space for them to share their practice and in regard to what they're creating for lessons for kids in play-based centers. So we can talk more about that, and I hope to have some of the teachers come back and talk to you about the play-based learning, professional development, and also the centers that they're creating. But at Galvin Middle School, the teachers at Galvin for a few years have been working outside of the district and kind of aligning their work with the new standards. They were actually involved before the standards were approved at the state level in piloting and learning about, at that point they were the next generation standards, NGSS. And so as they were accepted, now several grades at the middle school, actually 5, 6, and 7, and next year 8, will be fully aligned to the new standards, okay? And at the high school, we're going to be reviewing different subjects to really look at what the greatest priority is. One of the things that we've discussed is really looking at biology. Now that all students are taking biology in grade 9, a kind of a burning question for us is, would they be better served at having more an up-to-date curriculum with also a technology component that could really serve them outside of school as well. But there'll be more information coming on that when we come back in the spring to tell you about kind of what we're going to propose for a curriculum purchase. And so this year, a change from last, this year the STEAM task force is being co-chaired by Wendy and Jennifer. And I'd like to give them an opportunity to talk a little bit about that experience.
Okay. So the STEAM task force, and again, STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, has been in operation. I think that we're going on our 3rd year. Dr. Smith started it when she was the assistant superintendent, and I've been part of it for those 3 years. Initially, we created a vision for what we wanted our STEAM classes to look like in 2020, so our STEAM 2020 vision. And over the course of the last year, we identified 4 focus areas that we've been working on. And just to back up a little bit, so the STEAM task force is made up of educators within the district, parents and community members, and we come together as educators and then also include the community members to get their voice and use them, the valuable resources that we have in them. So the 4 focus areas that we've identified last year and have been working on are underrepresented groups in STEAM. We started out focusing on girls in STEAM, and then earlier this year I went to a workshop with GE on STEM education, and a presentation was done by, I think his name is Leland Melvin. He's an astronaut. It was very moving, and he talked about being a minority in a technical field and what that feels like. So we kind of expanded our outreach to include all those underrepresented groups so that we're reaching everyone that has an interest in really building that, Wakefield, having Wakefield be known as a STEAM-centric district. Our second focus is on curriculum and really offering a wide variety of course selections throughout the middle school and high school and elementary school in those STEAM fields. We talked about having a capstone project with a STEAM focus, and then also possibly a STEAM endorsement. So those are the 4 areas that we've been working on. Part of what that GE workshop that I went to, there were representatives from around the Eastern Coast, and there were some people from New York City there that had a framework for STEAM education that we're kind of using as our guideline. It has some good ideas about outreach and using community membership and having summer opportunities and extracurricular opportunities. So that's been a recent addition that we're kind of using as a guidepost.
So this year, which is newly started, we have a science curriculum leadership group, which just had their first meeting in early December. And we're excited to have a science curriculum leadership group. We have a math curriculum leadership group and also an English language arts curriculum leadership group as well. And both of those committees, both math and ELA, are chaired by Paul Bavuso and Wendy. And so do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Thank you for having me here tonight, and I just want to say that it's been wonderful to be here with the Wakefield schools and a great group of teachers, so I just want to put that out there. It's been very enjoyable. So with the great group of teachers, there are 12 across K-12 that are part of this science leadership team. And we did at our first meeting spend the day looking at the new standards and unpacking them and getting everybody up to speed on the content. Some were more up to speed than others, but now we're kind of all starting off on the same footing. And we spent the afternoon looking at the science and engineering practices, so how we're going to go about teaching kids about how to learn science and then how to evaluate the things that they're learning in science class. So it's a great start, and we're going to hopefully continue our work throughout the year. And at the bottom there is just how we're aligning to the new MCAS 2.0. So we do have some time to get across all grades to get us aligned.
And that's the math MCAS 2.0 or math and science MCAS 2.0?
This is just in reference to science.
Just in reference to science,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So you'll see on the bottom is kind of our timeline. So 16-17 will focus on the old standards. So this spring, we're going to test on the old standards. Next year, we'll test on common standards. And the year after that, we'll be testing the new standards. And not only with the new standards, there'll be new question types as well. And so we're excited about the opportunity moving forward.
All right, great.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I'm sure we do.
Oh, good.
Lots to chew on there. Let's start with Chris.
With the 9th grade, like all 9th graders taking biology.
Yeah.
My recollection was like you were going to try it this year to see how it went.
Yeah.
But now it sounds like we're planning curriculum around that staying permanently. I was curious which direction we were going. Really.
Yeah, I thought that that was a curriculum move that we were going to make, and so and I thought that was.
Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
Yeah.
So it was not intended to be we're going to see how this. Because I know at the time there was concern that there may still be some students it was really kind of too much for.
So we've talked about that, and one of the things that I think Rich Metropolis and AJ Beebe will talk about in January is the program of studies. And I think that they will be able to talk more about that then, because that has been a topic, but I think that they have a solution for that. And they can share more with you then.
Okay.
All right.
But
But it does sound like bio is staying, right? But it sounds like they're trying to really be thoughtful about how to accommodate and support and also challenge the incoming students.
And we're still in the exploratory phases, so we haven't actually ordered curriculum
No.
yet anyway. So
No, sir.
Okay.
No? Especially not at the high school, right? So.
Okay.
And, go ahead.
Do we have a robotics club? Is there a robotics club?
Middle school.
The middle school.
In the middle school, we do.
Middle school.
Yeah.
And Deb Duggan last year ran a robotics program
In
at school in grade 4 across the district.
Right.
I
We had a
haven't heard yet.
presentation
Yeah.
a
And
year
there's
and a half
also-
ago, yeah.
And it went
yeah.
very well, and I thought the
Yeah.
intention was for her to lead that again, but I haven't heard yet if.
I think it's grown into the academy as well. So, yeah.
Do you want to join in if we have
Teach
a
it?
robotics club? Or teach?
Maybe not. There might be better people to be a part of that than me, so.
English major.
And also, in terms of like, I read recently about a company in Boston, a pharmaceutical company that's trying to engage students in summer internships, like science internships. Have you heard about that, or?
No.
No?
Like to know
I'll
more
I'll
about
send
it.
you the article. I think it was Vertex Pharmaceuticals, and it was with
Did see that.
Governor Baker and,
Yeah.
I don't know, they had some press
It's a
conferences.
big effort. Yeah.
Yeah, big effort
It'd
of
be great to
getting,
have.
getting kids involved. And I know that there's a lot of people in the community
Yeah.
that are in science fields. There's a science hub in this area, and,
Yeah.
and really engaging community representation, and maybe even like the job shadow, doing more with finding parents who are in those fields.
And it was, I'm glad to hear you went to the GE conference
Yeah.
recently. I think that's a big, with
Yeah.
GE moving to the
Mhm.
Seaport District,
Yes.
and they really want to engage schools as well. So.
But can I also add, and one of the big questions for us is really looking at the technology and engineering part of the new curriculum. And really, what we talk a lot about is really what does this sequence look like 5 through 12? How are courses mating one another? How is one challenge stopping and another one starting, and not have them be kind of segmented. Okay, this, it stops and starts.
Yeah.
But to have it be more continuous, and a robotics class might be something. I think it would be. It's like if you build it, they'll come. And that's something that I think we're hopeful about.
How much, I do want to bring this up, but how much of a hindrance is are the science labs in terms of implementing?
The high school, you mean?
The high
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
the high school
I think
science
it's-
labs, in terms of being able to really pursue what we want to pursue in the direction that we're committed to pursuing.
So I feel like I could talk a lot about this, but Jen was in a class today teaching. So from your perspective?
Yeah, the space is tight and all the rooms are a little different. So some I think are more, accessible than others. So a new building would be great. Updated classrooms would be great. But I think the teachers are, making do with what they have at this point.
So
Could be the difference of turning a child though on or off to science for the rest of their lives.
I have to tell you, I think that comparably, I think that, teachers making it work, it's like this is what
Right.
they know, right?
Right.
But I think it's a tremendous hindrance. And, it was cited in NEASC that the labs are a problem.
Right.
And not only in their size, but, we're starting to kind of border on other things like storage and chemicals and what labs actually you can now do with the labs the way they are. So I think moving forward, it's going to be.
Weren't there certain labs that had perhaps been done in the past that we can no longer offer because the equipment doesn't work correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's what we're trying to get out there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, that's
and
a
you're being
huge.
polite.
And the whole, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole movement in the curriculum is toward more inquiry-based learning,
You're
experiential
spot
learning.
on.
And
You're-
labs are a big part of that,
Right.
of course,
Mhm.
right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And then we're trying to engage people in science and have
Yeah.
them enjoy it,
Yeah.
and then all they need is one equipment that doesn't work or not being able to do something, and then they're like, you know, it's too.
That's what we're trying.
I don't
Or
know.
to be kind of tethered so tightly to a desk that it's hard to actually investigate what you're studying.
Mhm.
You know, and that's supposed to be a fundamental part of the subject.
Mhm.
So I would say that it's not a small issue.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
no.
Rob?
Thank you.
Question? Archie? So I had a couple, a couple of thoughts came to mind. So when you were talking about the engineering curriculum, I've been fortunate to be able to hear Giannis Mulis, the director of the Museum of Science, talk about the resources that institution has developed around. He's incredibly eloquent about the role of the built environment
Yeah.
in generating interest and enthusiasm in students. And they've done a lot of really interesting work around engineering curriculum. So that may be another resource for you if you haven't tapped into it already.
Yeah.
And related to that, I was just another thought that comes to mind, and maybe you could talk to this, is the role of, I'm a big believer in the role of field trips, especially in the sciences. I mean, the arts and humanities, of course, they're really important too, but the sciences, do you see a more robust or more developed role for field trips as you think about the curriculum going forward?
Internationally?
Well, I just,
I'm-
no, right? No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
just
think-
the
yeah.
science resources we have in Greater Boston are just tremendous,
Two members
you know?
of the two members of our science community are they, one works at PBD Essex, the other at the Museum of Science, and so they are, you know, almost a meeting doesn't go by when we're with the task force that they talk about the opportunity for kids to learn. And so it also relates to kind of the concept that Dr. Smith is talking a little bit about learning anywhere and trying to connect, you know, opportunities for kids, you know, when in their off time as well.
Right.
And so we feel like they're great resources, and I think, you know, the more we grow in this area and the more we learn, the better it's going to get.
Yeah. And my other question was about, you know, you talked about the professional development with teachers, and I was thinking particularly about how we attract and retain the elementary teachers and the role of, because I think this has traditionally been a challenge of attracting and retaining elementary level teachers who are highly literate in both math and science, because I mean they have to be generalists, right? But if we're really going to develop and build a stronger science or STEAM curriculum, our elementary teachers probably have to be stronger over time in these areas. But at the same time, finding and developing those skills is a challenge. So maybe you can talk about that and what role the school committee might play in budgeting and planning over the long term to help that effort.
Sure. I think one of the most immediate ways that I think the school committee might be able to help, and will be through the budget, through professional development.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we talk about often in regard to what opportunities can we give teachers to kind of help them to create the conditions for kids to best learn and also participate in their learning.
Right.
And so I think that is something that we are talking a lot about, especially at the elementary level. You know, I mentioned it and kind of the differentiated approach and the needs of different levels. So if you're a content area teacher, if I'm a middle school science teacher, that's, you know, my thing. If I'm a high school science teacher, that's, you know, I have an expertise in biology, I have an expertise in physics. And so that's their space. But in elementary school, you know, there's a lot of moving parts, right? And developmentally, kids have a lot of needs, and they do an amazing job. But to really support them in the areas and ways that we can is something that we are thinking a lot about. And so I think that this is going to be kind of a 3-year conversation to really start to flesh this out a little bit around needs, around schedules, around how do we best, make connections from grades 3 and 4 to the middle school and the opportunities they're having there. But I would say one of the most significant areas in regard to your question is professional development. And you'll hear more about that when we talk about budgeting.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Great. All right, thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Dr. Smith, did you want to?
Just before they go away, so tomorrow, we were talking about the science labs, I believe it's tomorrow at MSBA that the Board of Directors is meeting. So we all need to send really positive energy to the MSBA and hum Dear Wakefield High
Good.
all day tomorrow, and
Yeah.
perhaps we'll have receive an invitation, so.
Yeah.
there's
Our
certainly a
questions
hope.
were a little leading on the high school, as you probably noticed, so we're behind you.
Well, I think we have a common passion in this area, and
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
what good can come of the facility, right?
Yeah.
So, but thank you, all of you, for coming this
Yeah.
evening and helping
Great,
us out.
really
Thank you for
Really
having us.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So finally, into my other remarks, I just wanted to bring up that Danny and I on last Friday went to the NESDEC workshop on later start time. I don't know if you remember that was on the calendar, and that was an opportunity for us to just get a little bit of information and kind of think about and hear about and kind of plan around that with the community conversation. I'll let Ann comment a little bit on it, and maybe just a couple of, maybe the key takeaway that I had was I think that we both found the research, the health research compelling, that, for young people, for teenagers, a later start time can really benefit their education and health benefits and so forth. But we also, the more deeply we discussed it and thought about it, there are many obstacles that we would face in regard to educational and financial and operational impact, I think, overall. So we're really kind of talking about that. So really next steps is this month, before this month is out, I have some work to do. I have some data that I've talked to Maria Sorreo about, and Mike Perfeling around some transportation issues and some other financial issues. I want to revisit the topic with the principals now that I have more information and get their feedback. And I meet this month with the Wakefield Education Association Leadership Group, and I really want to talk to them about impact and really, gather some more information before we take another step. So maybe Ann can speak to what she heard that day as well. Or.
No, it was interesting is that they had somebody who's done a lot of research at the nationally and is really world renowned in terms of her research on sleep and the importance of sleep. So it's compelling evidence that it is definitely beneficial. And they find that it's the more beneficial is that you really have to make the stake to make a difference. It can't just be a 10-minute difference. Right. And is closer to 8:30 or later, the more impact that it does have. So, the implications of that is that it requires it's a big shift. And so there's a lot of it's going to come down to kind of cost benefit analysis. I mean, I think that the benefit is clear. And there doesn't seem to be research to refute that. But then it just comes down to at what cost are we prepared for, and what are the logistic things that Dr. Smith's going to be looking into, but also the impact on the community is what is the community's appetite for it as well.
Right.
So
important questions. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you guys got to be part of that. And what are our next steps vis-a-vis the regional consortium that we're part of? Do we have any ongoing commitments to that conversation?
Really, our commitment to the Middlesex League is that we will have the conversation in Wakefield and make our decisions in Wakefield. So, like I said, I think I just have some work that I want to do this month, and then we had set up a calendar of what might be next. But maybe perhaps I'll be coming back with a recommendation of what those next steps are in the near future.
All right, thank you. Okay, I don't think we actually have any subcommittee reports tonight, do we? So we can dispense with those. Our future dates and agenda items, our next meeting is January 10th, our new year, 2017. And we'll then go to school committee comments. I'll start over with RJ.
I just want to thank everyone for a great year. It's really been a pleasure being on the board and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Rob?
Me too. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yes, same.
Same for me as well, and also congratulations to the Wakefield Music Boosters for a hugely successful Polar Express this past weekend. That event gains in popularity every year. They actually sold 2,200 tickets in, I believe it was something like 27 minutes.
Wow.
They were sold out.
Wow.
It's, thank you to all the volunteers. It takes about 100 volunteers or so to make it all happen, and it just goes off like clockwork. We gained quite a reputation for ourselves to live up to it.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Chris. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of December 13th, 2016.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.